Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and close out. This is what our project sort of will look like. For this project, you're going to make what's called a template design, template page layout. When you work on multiple pages, it's very good to have a consistent look from one page to the next page. And so what you're going to be working with when you download, let's see, go to today's Moodle page. Yeah. Download the ID5RF. This is the Project 3 file. And if you go to the desktop, it'll be in a folder called HeartSmart. Now this particular file format is INDT. It's an InDesign template page. The template is meant to be reused over and over again. It gives you the same basic layout, but still allows you to change things up. So you can easily use the same graphics, same stuff on each side, and all you're doing is changing out the text. This is great for working quickly, because if your boss walks in and says, hey, I need a new newsletter laid out, you've got a template made. All you've got to do is flow in whatever text or pictures that he has to put in from there. So this is really, really cool to work with. I'm going to not save it, and we'll jump back in and work through it. So when you download this file, like I said, it's in a folder. It's going to have the file that you're opening up, HeartSmart. It's also going to have another smaller folder that you're keeping all of the information. In this case, you're going to put the text document for each of the little articles, and you also got a variety of pictures and other line drawings and things like that from there. Whenever you make a document, this is a good professional habit to get into. First of all, make a folder that's named whatever project you're working on. What I like to do personally, if I have to design something for a client, usually I do it from previous years, and they'll want to come back to me and do it years later. So let's say I did a t-shirt for MC Track. So MC Track t-shirt, then I'll put the date at the end of it, so 2013. So if they come back to me next year and say, hey, we love that t-shirt, can we get another copy of it? Great. All I got to do is find what year I had it. I can pull it up and make modifications. Everything about whatever project you work on is going to be stored within that folder. So any pictures you use, any text you use, any emails maybe that they send, even the document you created, everything stays nice and organized within that one folder. Do y'all have a folder system set up on your computer?
Add folder?
Yeah, like adding folders. Y'all know how to make a new folder on everything? Hopefully your computer doesn't look like this desktop where you just got tons of files that are just strewn out everywhere. Try to stay as a little bit more organized. I should get on to whoever's been working at this computer for not being so organized. But the more organized you are, trust me, in the long run it really, really pays off. I had to visit my old, the place where I worked at the Mississippi Baptist Convention Board, and the guy who replaced me had a question about a project that I worked on. Well, I was able to just sit down and say, okay, let me pull up the folder. I knew exactly where to go to, what department, what year I worked on it, what project it was, and show them exactly where it was. I didn't have to hunt anything down. It's all because I kept everything organized. The second reason you need to stay organized is because when you start creating stuff for your documents, this document is going to look for those pictures, for that text, wherever you saved it. And if you saved it in a folder within a folder, it's just going to know where to look for it every time. You don't have to hunt it down. That's the problem that we're having with this one, the HeartSmart InDesign document. So I'm going to double click and open it up. When you do this, it's going to give you an error. It's saying, hey, this document's missing 2 links to sources that are to other files. You can relink them later. So it's looking for 2 pictures that's not on here, or it's looking for fonts. I'll say okay. Here's another common problem. It's missing a font. This document contains a font that's missing something. You need to correct it. So if you ever get this problem, here's what you can do about it. I'll say okay. First of all, it looks like we have a blank page. The template is actually stored. If you'll open up your Pages palette under the A front page, you can actually make multiple templates. Right now this is the default one, so I'm going to double click on this one. And this is the template that we'll be working under. In InDesign, if you ever have any font that is missing, the way it indicates that it's a missing font is it'll highlight it in pink. Sometimes if somebody's changed the settings it may be different, but if it's highlighted like this, it'll be in pink and it'll be in whatever default font that your computer wanted to choose. Here's how to change up a font if you're missing it. First of all, select your type tool and just kind of select all of the missing font that you have. You can go up to Type, down to Find Font. From here, it's going to give you a dialog box that looks like this, and it's going to list out every font that's being used within this document. ATC Corolla, Oak Normal, Pine Normal. The problem fonts that show up will have a little error symbol on the far right hand side. It looks like this. If it has an A or an O or a T, you're all good. By the way, the little A on there, that means it's an Adobe font. Sometimes you'll see an O, which means it's an open type font, which is another kind of font foundry, and T stands for true type, which is it's just another name for the same thing. But if it's got this one, that's your error font that you're having. So it's looking for ATC Collada. What we need to do is we need to change it to something that we do have on the computer, since I don't have this font on there. To change it, select the font that you want, and the book's going to say change it to ATC Oak Normal Regular. So you can replace it with, we'll type it in down here, ATC Oak. Not just Oak, but there's Oak Normal. So I'm going to replace this font with this one. Be sure to hit Change All. And so now you can even see that it kind of changed up into the back there. If you had a multiple page document that was like several pages, and this would also affect every other instance of the use of that particular font by itself. All good? Any questions? I know I breezed through that. That's the simplest thing you can do. If you happen to have the font and you need to install it, how many of y'all don't know how to install a font onto the computer? Let me show you real quick. Here's how easy the Macintosh makes it to install a font. If you'll go to your hard drive, open this up, in the folder called Library, there is a fonts folder. There it is. If you ever download any font, it'll have an OTF, open type font. Sometimes there's a TTF, true type font. Drag any font that you download into this folder. Give it a couple of seconds, and the next time you go into InDesign or Illustrator or Photoshop, it'll be in there in the list of fonts that you have in there as well. So that's how you can do that. I'll hit done. And you can see now it's not highlighted in pink. It's changed out that font specifically. The second most common problem is, let's say you saved a picture on your computer and you've linked to it, but now you put it on a new computer and that's not there. How do you relink an image? Quickest way to do it is to open up your links palette on the far right hand side, and this will give you a red question mark dot underneath it. That means that something up here is being missed. It's looking for it. I hit the down arrow. You can see it's looking for the nameplate gray.ai. When I select it, you can get some more information about this down here, and it kind of tells you, we really won't need any of this information, but the main thing I try to look for is this path. The path is telling you, hey, this was the last place I remember it being saved. If you scroll over it, let's see, it was under InDesign Portfolio. Looks like it's under January issue, such and such. It's saying, well, can't find it. Here's how to relink to it. I need to find the nameplate gray, choose the little broken link. This will allow you to relink it. Then it's going to open up and ask you to find it. So I know it's saved on my desktop under, let's see, HeartSmart, double click, under the December issue. And so here's the nameplate. In this case, it's looking for one called gray, and we've updated it and created one that's in color. So this is the document that we're replacing with it. It's going to be colorized. So when I hit open, well, didn't change it up. Maybe it's being used somewhere else. I know it'll work for the second one as well. So I'm going to choose this one. We'll do the same thing again. Oh, by the way, if you click on Go to Link, it'll actually show you what it's being used. I should have chosen this one first. Let's relink this one. So choose a relink. There it is, nameplate color. We'll say OK. Now we go. It's changed itself out. Now notice I don't have any errors. It doesn't know where to look for it from there. If you have any particular image that you've ever used on there and you ever change it up, this is the place to go to find out, hey, is there any errors, any problems? Let's see, I'll go back to my pages. Let's just go to the main page real quickly. So if I'm going to make an image box, I'm going to drop in, I'll just choose a random one from the desktop. So I've got this image loaded in. And it's this image on the desktop, flowers color change. So it's linking to this image from the image that's on the desktop. Now if I happen to move this image into another folder, and I go back to it, it's still going to show up that it's there. But if I go to my links, you can see, uh-oh, now I've got that error on there. It's saying, hey, I can't find this anymore. What do I need to do? This is when you would have to go back and relink it, find what folder it was in. In our case, I moved it to the HeartSmart. And there it is that I changed up. And now everything's good. The most common reason why that links fail is because when you save them and you try to drag them to your jump drive or drag everything to a new folder, it doesn't know where to relink it. So if I even move it back to the desktop, then I've got to go back. Now it's giving me an error again to relink. The best thing about InDesign is it'll remember basically what your image looks like. So you can still print this, but it's going to be a lower resolution version of this print. Only until you link back to it does it pick up the full resolution of that image. So you can probably still maybe even make a PDF of it. Might give you an error from that. All good? Any questions? Okay. I'm going to turn this over to you. This is a really short one. It's a great one. It also goes into how you can make style sheets so that you can quickly format and edit your text. It also goes into how to put in tabled information. So I think there's an Excel file that you'll be opening up. Excel is great for having bunches of tables of information, but how do you make those look really good? And you can do that very easily in InDesign. I'm going to set the due date for this to be next Tuesday. So today, next Thursday, and by the end of next Tuesday, see if you can finish up Project 3 that we're working on. I'll turn your computers back over to you and let y'all get started.